I'm Chris Cressida.
And I'm Ramses Serrero.
And my name is Austen Cabret, and I will be presenting Cybathic Park. So, for my thesis, I wanted to ask, what do Alita Battle Angel, Ghost in the Shell, and The Matrix have in common? Well, each of these movies proposed a unique societal model, whose qualities were that of a plausible future. It has been inspiration from the potential of science fiction that's led me to researching current technological trends. And so I ask, what could our landscapes look like 50 years from now? Well, I came to my own conclusions. In the year 2070, automation will be ever more present. Robot technology will advance to the point of fulfilling practical uses within society, and decentralization will allow us to live in communities with smaller forms of government. But perhaps the most exciting of all are the technologies that will directly interface with us. Companies like Neuralink are working now to merge the human brain with computers. CRISPR is unlocking the body's genetic secrets to potentially eliminate disease, and disabled people with prosthetics are modifying themselves in ways that instead hyper-enable them. These hyper-enabled citizens currently result in little more than passing interests, but given time, will exceed most imagination. The emergence of transhumanity is what I'm referring to. Within science fiction, they have many names: cyborgs, androids, celestials, etc. A transhuman is a hyper-enabled person. With their greater capabilities, they no longer fully resemble the people of our contemporary age. This process has been developing alongside us always. After all, we are superheroes if compared with cavemen. And as there is a technological gap today, there will also be a spectrum of transhumans. It will then become the landscape architect's role to ensure that all demographics are represented in design thinking, just as we do today with ADA. Transhumanity will have its own unique challenges that will need bright minds to address. The speculative issues tackled in this thesis are greater productivity, hypermobility, and connectivity. Those changes will lead to overbuilding, job displacement, unaccommodating space, and a loss of privacy. And to combat that, I propose these designs: an underground park, a work area, a public roof space, a vertical farming area, vertical circulation, and last of all, private space. And this will all happen within the Vladeck housing projects in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So being positioned in Manhattan places this community inseparably from the world's economic and technological forerunner. As such, the Vladeck houses will be of the first communities to experience issues related to the emergence of transhumanity. The current layout is 7 rows of 2 or 3 edifices with public space in between. Moving into the proposal, I started by designing space where New York still has much potential: the underground. The underground area would be in line with current present culture of underground markets and subway transit, and would expand upon the thought incubators such as the Low Line, as well as taking advantage of New York's $51.5 billion 2024 plans to renovate and expand its subways. The proposal provides areas for community gardens, which effectively would direct light through glass to reduce energy costs. That happens here. It's fed to the vegetation. And then as well, the scheme can be expanded to accommodate multiple tiers. Most circulatory modes are ones that we're accommodated to, but to accommodate the transhuman, I'm proposing this trellis-like structure that would allow climbing to happen vertically between the levels. Additionally, water is directed through layers of plant beds. As well, energy is produced through solar walkways happening here, which go to run things like the subway, building operations, and outdoor lighting through integrated wall LEDs. This is the main entrance to the underground level. You can see here it has access for regular humans in here, but as well there's the vertical access for the transhuman I was talking about here. And the underground is illuminated by glass filtered light, which also saves on energy costs. And then that vertical circulation would lead to this tier of connected rooftops that would form a linear park system. The area, aside from being recreational, the programming of this park attempts to achieve reintegration of community members that have been technologically displaced and now lack a role in society. So that is done through a jobless reintegration zone, which is where that glass area was. So thinking of some kind of program that either a government or a community can offer low-skilled workers, and then temporary housing and therapist's office, all in the attempts to have these people who have been displaced reintegrate. And then Lastly, I've touched on a lot of topics, but the last issue that we'll need addressing is that of privacy. Increasing intrusion by technology in our privacy and attention leaves us needing areas to express ourselves without fear of judgment or penalty. Contributors to privacy are visual, auditory, and technical. By integrating all three, one arrives at designs like these, which can be used as a toolkit to place around the site. So this is the original design, accommodating for privacy by having a back area that's visually and auditory blocked, and then a public area in front of it. Additionally, the first two levels of windows are removed to reduce sight. In the second proposal, there's this structure that would allow vegetation to grow on it and block the view from the rooftop park, as well as having these flex spaces which take advantage of smart glass, which can be turned on or off to allow the use of the space to be either private or public. And I included this object as a representation of what a technological block could be, as a device that could block any video or connection to the internet, to have that form of privacy accommodated for as well. And the last one is more of a soft-handed approach, where sight would be blocked by trees and sound would be and some visual would be buffered by the sound buffer, which is a current practice done today. So this is nearing the end. There were so many more routes I wanted to go. For example, discrimination against transhumans and even virtual lives that they would face. But I only had so much time. So to end, I just wanted to say that transhumans are inevitable. And just as your neighbor deserves compassionate design, so do they. Thank you.
Okay, so man, I think your project, I guess it kind of hits close to home for me personally, because I'm a big fan of Ghost in the Shell, and I'm a big fan of, I'm curious to see what a world that is dictated by AI, and as you said, like transient humans and human evolution will look like, and how that can tie into this big word that you said, which is privacy, right? In a world where we're all interconnected to this kind of web of information and technology, where's the line between privacy, right? Where's the line between being an individual and then being part of a system? So I think it's really cool, these ideas you're starting to explore, and the fact that you're exploring these ideas within a landscape architecture field, which is something to me that I would have never guessed, right? For some reason, maybe is this misconception of my field. I always thought, like architecture was supposed to be like tied in with exploration when it comes to, artificial intelligence and how we can go with it. And the fact that you're doing this at a landscape architecture level is something new to behold.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I think that design should just be holistic. I don't care if I'm designing architecture or landscape or a product or whatever. Yeah. It's solving a problem, and this can happen in our outdoor spaces. So there's no reason that this needs to look like a standard landscape project.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm passionate about it too. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Like the idea of kind of developing something that's supposed to be in the future. I think this idea of looking forward into the future, even if it's a time where maybe we're not here to see it. I think it's something that, as architects in the school field, is where we're always told, like, oh, be a little bit more optimistic about how things are. You can be more conceptual, and I think it's beautiful to see, because bringing these ideas to the professional setting is something that I think is going to be amazing to see, like once these ideas get to flourish, in your professional setting. But as a thesis in general, like I think the ideas are there, and it was really, like, I guess, mapped out well, you would say, and like programmed well, and I thought it was very interesting to see.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, and the fact that you're kind of targeting this recovery sector, right? Yeah. I think that's very powerful on its own, and how you're kind of creating this ecosystem that brings in, obviously in a hyper theoretical future, human beings, transient humans, and humans affected by, I'm guessing, disabilities and stuff like that have become transient humans by mistake or on purpose and stuff like that. Like, you know, how Ghost in the Shell and all those other I guess genres like tackle these problems. I think it's really powerful.
Thank you. I'm really excited to see where I can take it next.
Yeah. All right.